name's James. I'm co-founder and CEO of Mobilise, but perhaps my more important role is as son to my mum. She was diagnosed with MS when I was about 6, so we've been on a bit of a caring journey as a family.
And hi, I'm Suzanne. I'm co-founder and head of carer support here at Mobilise. And I'm also caring for my husband, Matt, who has young onset Parkinson's. And we've got some other care situations, like many other people, heading our way with parents too. Oh, we do work together well as co-founders, I think. But I think, well, one of the big things on a daily basis is because we have fun together. We enjoy working for each other with each other. And I think for me, there's always been this element of care for each other and whatever's going on in our lives and that situation. We're always very aware of that and working with that rather than trying to put it to one side, which makes it work for me. And that kind of creates this place where we trust each other. And I think that's key to being able to work together.
Although we've got the same kind of vision and passion for doing something really amazing for carers, we're also quite different. So I think the things that you enjoy are different to the things that I enjoy, and the things that I'm terrible at, you are really strong at. So there's something about having that complementarity of it, which is really powerful, and I think really important in a startup when the co-founders are always having to do so many different roles, as you say, and it makes a big difference.
Yes, we're going to be bigger. There's going to be that sense of scale and really reaching so many carers. But I think hopefully we'll influence the world somewhat about how we're kind of care is a normal thing that people do. I kind of think that's really exciting to sort of see that change and just unleashing the power of the community really kind of quickly. I think that's where tech can really support us to do that really quickly. And I really want to see that real depth of impact. We now know we're doing all the right things that match the theory of change, and we're seeing that impact. But really to see that come through people that have been with us for a longer time and the larger scale of carers, to really see that depth of impact beyond individuals into communities and society. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And just thinking back, we had right at the beginning of starting Mobilise, we had that really frank conversation with each other about how we could design this amazing platform for supporting carers. But if we hadn't figured out how to get carers through the door, through the virtual door in the first place, it wasn't going to make any difference. So we've tried really hard at building a new way in to reach carers at scale. And I think we're now in that fantastic position where we can say, hey, this bit is really working. So we can now explore what that depth of impact can look like and make sure it's really meaningful change for carers as we go along. But, the next 3 or 5 years, there's so much more we can do. You mentioned normalizing caring roles. I can't think of anybody I've spoken to and when I've described Mobilise, they've said, oh yeah, I've no idea what you're talking about. Almost everyone has some sort of caring situation going on in their family or friends and so on. So this is a regular part of everyday life. But I also think, hey, if we can be really ambitious for the change we can make for carers and the scale that we can do that on, this starts to bring about something really powerful. And I think as we grow the community, we can start to address some of those really niche, quirky challenges that comes when you have scale. And we can introduce people across the country to have all sorts of situations. So even if you're in a really specific situation, we can buddy you up with someone who's been there as well. And that just makes all the difference. I think it's really important for me that when we were designing our values and so on, that empathy was such a key part of that, because we're a tech company. We're building software and using technology, but fundamentally, this is about humans. And I think you could build a really whizzy app for carers, and it would probably be helpful. But actually, the really important thing is to connect carers together. Carers are so often isolated, and engaging with people, particularly people who understand what it's like to be a carer, can be really hard. So the key thing for us is finding ways to connect humans. And that's the thing that really gives me a buzz. So putting empathy in as our values is really, really important. And I just think of Brené Brown's work on empathy and how somebody can tell me what to do, and they may well be right. That is what I should do. But unless I really have that connection that I feel like it's someone who understands, someone who's been there before, it's so much harder to listen to that. So I think it's a really important part of what we do.
Yeah, and I think that empathy has been an important driving factor in who we recruit and who is part of our team and how we develop ourselves and how we support ourselves. You know, that's really important. You can't just be empathetic on a bad day. You need on a good day. You need to be able to manage it. You know, when life's difficult as well, and to be able to look after yourself. And I think that's where I see now how the tech is like part of my team. You know, it also needs to be trained to be empathetic and to really understand people, to listen and come alongside, to not just say, oh, you need to do this, there we go off and do that, and add to this never-ending list of things to do. And it really has that time to listen and reflect back what's going on for the carer. And I think then, where you add in the technology, it adds in speed, it adds in 24/7 accessibility, it adds scalability, that there's no queue, there's no backlog. It can all happen right now at a time that works for the carer, which I don't, you know, how many staff would that take to be able to achieve that? But what I love is the tech is essentially doing what we would do with each individual, but it also flags up when we need to step in and even more of an individual approach is needed. So I kind of really like how we found that sweet spot in that, because at first I wasn't sure how that would look. I'm really proud of what we've created.
It's funny, you think about how company culture has impacted the way we support carers. There's something really important for me about being honest and frank and transparent about what caring is like. And I think having so many carers in the team makes a difference. So we can talk about getting poo out of the carpet, or all the things about bodily fluids leaking all over the place. You know, we can be really honest about that with each other, and that I think means that we can also be honest with it in the community, and people can feel when they're coming to us that they're actually being heard by people who get what's going on. I also think there's some tough stuff out there, right? And our culture of being able to share that with each other in a really honest and vulnerable way behind the scenes means that when we're coming to each challenging conversation to support carers with, we've got that well of energy, and we've got that emotional resilience to be able to come at it fresh and give the carer what they need. So I think that it comes back again to being a human organization rather than just a tech company or something like that.
Yeah. And I think also that difference between, you know, where we say we want people to be able to come to work and absolutely surprise themselves at what they're capable of doing and really feel that they're working at the outer limits and of new and stretching themselves and growing. You know, you can't do that without that right support structure behind it, without that right kind of atmosphere at work, those connections with your colleagues. That all makes it all possible. And it might, you know, you might imagine that we're spending all of our time just looking after each other and it's such a nice company. But but it's the working together, the collaborating with all of that going on around us. It constantly surprises me how quickly we can solve a problem, work out a new tool, identify something new and work together. But it's all that background that really helps. Yeah, right. So right at the beginning, like just connecting with carers, just getting people to make that first step and engage and find carers. You know, I thought all the stuff was around what we're going to do with them and how we can support them, but actually how challenging that was. But that was great because we hit that kind of wall and went right. We need to bring in the right people here. We need to talk to the experts here. If we haven't got the skill to solve this, we can't sit around with this problem for too long because it's going to hold us up. We absolutely need to solve that. So it was a moment of, oh, this doesn't feel like something I can change, to realizing, no, we straight away, we need to be bringing in the right expertise. And then by doing that, just how much we learn.
Oh my word. Well, I mean, it has been really tough at points. Um, I think there's something really difficult about trying to persuade people, particularly people in authority, local authorities, who are really keen to do something different, but you're asking them to take a massive leap of faith. And actually, we don't have all of the answers yet. We can't say this is exactly how it's going to work and this is going to be risk free. So sometimes that has felt like pushing water uphill, or whatever the analogy would be. And I remember there was a moment back in 2020, so just before the pandemic hit, and you and I were sat in Cafe Nero, and we were trying so hard to G each other up, but it didn't work. So we sort of left feeling pretty miserable, actually. And then actually a bit of the challenge of the pandemic, I think, spurred us both on to say, hey, here we just have to get a new way of thinking on this. And actually we were well positioned to help out there. So yeah, I think the key thing for me is remembering that phrase, this too shall pass. And sometimes you're on top of the world and you've just got to remember, yeah, this won't last all forever. But also when you're in one of those deep valleys of despair, you've got to remember, yeah, actually this we'll get through this one way or another.
And you know what really pulled us out of that was really recognising carers need something. They need something different, and the carers of the future are going to need something different. And as carers ourselves, we kind of had, we were kind of, what am I going to need? And it really, I think that gave it that sense of urgency and that sense of real mission.
And I think in startups, the key thing is just to get going and get a little bit of momentum. And of course, that's what we were able to do.
It's an expression I use a lot, is that we don't have a magic wand. And sometimes it's that sort of, setting the reality of what we can do and actually what's within us as carers to sort of take responsibility and ownership for, which is really tough going. But if I did have a magic wand, and actually I hope that some of what we can do can create a bit of that magic in the big swing, is society really. It's how society sees caring, that we would all see it as something so normal, so part of us, and that we would all kind of want to support each other. And I think although that feels like a big ambitious kind of place to be, I think that then, what then happens because of that, the decisions that politicians made, what happens with finances, what happens with budget, what happens with employers, I think that all starts to change if we're coming intrinsically from that place as individuals and as a collectivity.
I think for me, there's something really important about being able to uh, evidence and really capture the difference that we're making for carers. Reaching carers is a big deal, but ultimately, if they're coming through the door and they're not getting anything, that wouldn't be enough. So we've got to really make sure that we've got a clear sense of what that looks like, both for the carers themselves, but also for local authorities at more of a system level as well.
Do you know what, James? I think it's been really helpful just to step back and look at the bigger picture and chat this through. I really hope that's been helpful for you too.
Yeah, I love it. It's easy to forget the progress that we make on a daily and weekly basis. So, just a great step back. And I hope it's been helpful for anybody listening. We love talking to new people, just to share some of the learning we're picking up from around the country. So drop us a line if you want to have a chat.